Hey guys, how's it going? Today is December 20th. Experiencing God Day by Day by Blackaby. Get yours. Check it out. New Year's coming, man. So you don't have to start in January, but a fresh start, crack that thing to January 1. I don't know how many years I've been on this one. Thanks again, Constance, my mother-in-law, for giving me this years ago. And it hasn't gotten old. And before this, what was it? My utmost for his highest, and there was another one in between there. I don't even remember. Jesus Calling, maybe. This one's, man, it's different. Maybe I'm different. Maybe all of the above, but I don't know. But thank you. But this one's called Opposition, December 20th. It's not morning anymore, but I started this. It is after they were gone, an angel of the Lord suddenly appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, "Get up, take the child and his mother, flee to Egypt, and stay there until I tell you, for Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him." Matthew 2:13. Some of the excerpts from here, like I said, it's like 3:30 today. Let me get through these. Whenever God clearly speaks to you and you obey his will, you can expect to face opposition. Further down, Joseph's hardship came not because of his sin, but because of his obedience. Sometimes God calls you to do something, and then there's opposition, and you're like, oh man, maybe I messed up. No, maybe you're doing exactly what he told you to do, and you should have expected it. And now it comes because, and I've said this, I don't know how many times this month, within the last month, is I just feel, I can't even really explain it. I feel like God is, it's the best way I can articulate this. I feel like God is tailoring my resume for a job that doesn't exist yet. I just said this again to Jason Campbell, the 86 rep in Montana. And when that comes out, like, we need a man or men who have these things, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's called 1995. That is called, 2024. That is called, like, that whole stuff we learned during COVID. I got it, man. This is like filled out. I'm ready to go. That's amazing. When you look at it like that, you're like, okay, so bring it on. Bring on the hard lessons, because they're going to be needed in the future. Jesus warned his disciples to expect persecution from the world as they obeyed the Father. Like, expect it. And then it doesn't look like, oh, woe is me. It looks like price of admission. I think of the SEAL teams with BUD/S and other things. It wasn't like BUD/S was the only thing. That's all pay in advance. Like, you're going to have to pay in advance to earn the right to be here, and it's going to be horrible, because now we know you want to be here. Now we know we're in. It's, man, let me think about this. Is it 2 Corinthians 16:9 comes to mind? Maybe that's 19:6. Look it up. The eyes of the Lord scour to and fro. He's scanning the earth to bless those whose hearts are fully his. Well, how's he going to know if you're in? Because you're risking. Not because what you're going to get out of it. You're doing it because it's the right thing to do. And there's skin in the game, and you could lose everything. And he's like, there's my guy. I'm going to go ahead and bless that. Right? It's like, and then you're not doing it to get. You don't give to get. You give because it's the right thing to do. You do because it's the right thing to do. And he goes, there's my guy, risking it again for me. And I got a job for you. And I've been working on you for a while because Jesus knew it was coming. And that's cool when you think about it like that. Don't become discouraged when you face opposition. Opposition may indicate that you are acting in obedience to God. Boom. God's will for you may involve hardship, as it did for his son. But he loves you and will not allow you to face more than you are able to handle. Further, in the scripture, it talks about this too. Handle right now, like this day. Not the past and going through all that garbage, not the future and trying to read that. Man, right now. So what are you going to do today? And I would challenge you to do good. Well, what if I don't know what it is? You know right and wrong, good and evil. I mean, if you're a Christian, and if you don't know this, then ask somebody who's a little, further along in their walk. What's something good I can do? But if you're really looking, I don't know many people that don't know. Like, that's good and that's not good. Go do the good thing. Well, what if I do it for the wrong motives? Do the good thing. Do good. And when you do that, somebody told me, that was my nephew, great conversation, and I love that they're here, and I want to touch on that too. It's something about the God of the mundane. It's like, if it just seems mundane, God's God of that too. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, actually. Mundane, like, I haven't been bored in years. If you have the courage, and I say this quite a bit, if you have the courage to pray, break my heart for what breaks yours, you will not be bored, because all of a sudden your hearts start breaking. You take it personal when you see people just in crisis. You take it personal when there's people that are about to lose their freedom, like just happened recently. You kind of take it personal, and all of a sudden there's too many things to do. So now it's divvying up your time and saying, I do have to balance this, for God, for family, for country, for all that. But if you're sitting around bored, I just don't even understand that anymore. I would say that you're doing it wrong. I would say that you're not looking. There's so many battles every single day. We got to divvy them up and then pick which ones we're not going to do. And just because there's a battle doesn't mean it's yours. But many of them, when you ask, you're like, somebody should do something, and that somebody's me. Then that's basically a recipe for the rest of your life. And that's, by the way, it's called ministry. It's called men's ministry. I can speak to that. I don't know much about women's ministry because I'm not a woman. I know that women are called to mentor. Older women are called to mentor younger women, but I don't see a ton of that going on. I know it's happening, but man, I know many ladies that could use an older, wiser Christian woman that's solid. And the same thing with men. I have mentors that are senior to me, and I hang on their words. I have several that I meet with weekly, if not monthly, or monthly, if not weekly. And guys, if you're listening, it's not always instant, and I'm not always going to obey, but that it takes me time to digest those words, just like a conversation today that I couldn't get enough of. And I have to process through that, and then we'll talk about it and say, okay, we got some dragons to face. And that's awesome. So back to my nephew. It's such a blessing right now, because what God's calling me to do right now as I take them to Forest Bend, Christmas at the farm, very much a Christ-centered event on a farm that a buddy of mine puts on, Matt Tanner. What's up, Matt? We got the whole family's going. We got 12 tickets, and the honor, I get to pour into my nephews, one niece, and then my children and all that, because they're here for over a week. And they're not with their families this year because they're in my house. Then Rachel and I have them in our home. We don't have a big home. We're crammed in together, and I love it. We were all in the kitchen yesterday. We couldn't even get around each other. I love that. It's like, I'm not like, hey, we've got a family of 6, we should expand. I'm like, man, I wish we could get a smaller house. I love having everybody all over everybody doing this and that. My wife is just pinging on a different level because she's cooking, feeding them, running them here, running them there. What are we gonna do tomorrow? I'm taking them shooting. I think I'm gonna put them through a POP tomorrow because there's a class, there's some open seats. Going shooting after church. We're gonna go out to see that movie Homestead on the 23rd. It's not, I tell Parker this and the staff, like, hey, you bored? They're like, not bored, because I told them a long time ago. Don't know exactly where we're going. We're going to follow Christ, but I can promise you this, it won't be boring. So if you are bored, look for something good to do. In a war of good and evil, anytime you do good of any size, it tips the scales for good. And then make a habit of doing that, make a lifestyle of getting back up every single time, and all of a sudden and have the courage to pray that, break my heart for what breaks yours. And then get in this Bible and find out what does break Jesus' heart. The heart of Christ, God's heart, what breaks God's heart. And when you look at it, you're going to look at this thing differently. Now you're living an action adventure, and I know men are dying for that because they lost their purpose. You lost it. It was never hidden, like you dropped it and it fell behind the thing, you stopped looking, right? Didn't know where to look, fair enough, okay? Well, get with somebody that does know, and have them expose that to you. I can't overstate this because anybody knows me has heard this many times, and it's in the book. In communications, and I just got to say this to my nephew, who is going into the Navy for submarines and all that stuff. In communication, there's a transmitter and a receiver. And people are like, I just don't hear from God. I used to when I started this ministry when I was younger and I did all this stuff. It's like, it takes a transmitter and a receiver for any kind of communication. If you're not hearing from God, it's always a problem with the receiver, always. He's transmitting 24/7, but you might be on the wrong frequency. Maybe there's too many distractions. Maybe you're not being still. Maybe you don't even know what to ask, but you're not asking and you're not being quiet. Maybe in prayer, thank you, Jay Hart, Justin Hart, one of my pastors. He says, when you're praying, you shouldn't be the only one talking, right? So talk and then listen, receive, and then do. So most guys I know, it's not, I don't know what to do. You're simply not doing it. You go from Sunday, great message. What do you got for me next Sunday? What do you got for me next Sunday? How about you do what you learned last Sunday? If you committed to one message fully, it'd probably change your life this day. So for what it's worth, it is not lost on me that I get to speak into these young men and young lady over Christmas. And I love that my house, for whatever reason, has become, like Rachel and I, our home has become a safe haven where they would want to spend Christmas. So I'm going to speak into them, and more than talk, I'm going to say, this is how I live my life, and you're invited. And that's the way to do full-time ministry. And I didn't ask permission from a man. I asked God, and he said, it's cool. So I can't get enough of it. So for what that's worth, Merry Christmas, you guys. I know we're going to keep going with these. The new platform, please go onto YouTube, do your notifications, and make sure you get them, because I'm dumping everything on YouTube. My staff will go there and content create from out of that, but this is where I'm putting all that stuff. And if you need help from a young person, find them and make sure you get the notifications on. And please share this with a world that desperately needs it. The word influencer came up in a big way this election. So I feel that Abel Shepherd's called in this space of influencing, but where will you influence people toward? Man, if influencer can be an absolutely deadly thing, or it can be a miraculous thing. I'm going with B. So God bless you guys. Love you. Take care of one another.